snare of the fowler will never capture you, and famine will bring you no fear.
Under his wings your refuge, his faithfulness your shield,
And he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the ground, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand. You need not fear the terror of the night, nor the arrow that flies by day. Thousands rounds about you, near you it shall not come, and he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand. For to his angels he's given a command to guard you in all of your ways.
upon their hands they will bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. And he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, making you to shine like the sun, and hold you, and hold you, and hold you in the palm of his hand, of his hand. In God's hand.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Robert. What an amazing time to be alive on this planet. I thought we could begin this morning by taking a look together at the recent cycles of purification that we see occurring on Earth. Cycles of change. We've got personal change. It's hard to miss the political change. And what I'd like to spend some time looking at this morning with you is the change created by our climate. I'm thinking of events occurring right now in British Columbia, all over Canada and North America. And we have Hurricane Hillary, which landed in Baja California yesterday sometime and is working its way up towards Southern California. It's not there already. And Hawaii. It's nice to see Laurel here. My family and I have a strong connection with the Hawaiian Islands. I've got a 50-year career in the business community there. And when you begin to get the pulse of Hawaii, things move very quickly from business to friends, and in my case, then to spiritual work. Hawaii is a magical place. We're all aware of what occurred on Maui in Lahaina, and how events conspired to create a disaster there. Human error combined with storms in the ocean, and actually the natural topography of Maui led to the disaster we all watched unfold on the news. Maui is called the Valley Isle, and it's beautiful. And it was the elements of weather and the topography that caused unprecedented series of events that destroyed the historic town of Lahaina. The media is doing a pretty good job of keeping track of the cycle of destruction. And I thought I'd consider with you, rather than disintegration, the cycle of integration that I see happening with the Hawaiian people, particularly on Maui. Interviews on television show how these beautiful people were impacted by physical loss. And we feel that loss with them. Over 2,000 businesses and homes destroyed. Over 1,000 people still missing. At last count, 115 or more people dead. And you can see in the faces of those being interviewed and feel in the spirits of all those there that the loss was devastating, but it's not the most important thing to them. They feel the loss of culture in their surroundings, and they feel the loss of people that are dear to them. And in their conversations, you hear the word come up, ohana. It's a beautiful part of the spirit of Hawaii. The simple definition of ohana is family, blood family, the ones closest to you. And if you take a little wider look at that word, it means blood family, dear friends, extended family, associates. And going back a little farther and having a clear look at that word, you can see it also means our tribe, our island, Hawaii, and the nation. Maui is a place of great beauty. Beauty in geography and beauty in spirit. I called a friend of mine from Honolulu, Hawaii the other day. He's a wise man. And I asked him what he saw in that disaster there that was good. Did he see something rising up? And he said, yes. He said, I see people all over Hawaii coming together, working to help their brothers and sisters without any gain, without any thought of gain, just simply because that's what we do. That's why we're here. Ohana has another meaning. It means that no one shall be left behind. No one shall be forgotten. And as we watch the unfolding there, this is part of the cycle that is a real upliftment in the midst of this tragedy that occurred there. As we see these things unfold the world around, it's going to be our job as angels of compassion to feel these things, to sense the pain of those around, but not to be captured by that pain. We have a wonderful opportunity in this family of ours, this emissary family. Stay centered and focused, and remain in the cool blue center of the flame. That's where we do our best work. That's where we receive the word of God that allows us to move with steady hand and clear eye into the world and bring the ascending cycle into those things that are passing away. Suzanne and I would like to share a poem with you. We'd like to read it together. And we get to have another try at technology here. This poem is from Martin's Service, The Creator Incarnate, written by John Sims, and it's titled We Are Friends. Hi, friend. I do not ask you to love me. I love you. We are friends, unfettered, unchained, spacious, free as the eagle where he reigns. We are the kingdom. We are the kingdom of friends, where love and beauty reign.
I do not ask you to love me. I love you. We are friends, wholesome and whole and fresh as the dewdrop at dawn. We are the kingdom of friends, where love and beauty reign.
I do not ask you to love me. I love you. We are friends, one in our friendship, as the earth is one with the sea. We are the kingdom of friends, where love and beauty reign.
I do not ask you to love me, but you do. For you love our King, and I love our King. And in his love, we are friends.
And the master spoke to his disciples. Henceforth, I call you not servants, for the servant knoweth not what his Lord doeth. But I have called you friends, for all things that I have heard of my Father, I have made known unto you. Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you and ordained you, that ye should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain, that whatsoever ye shall ask of my Father in my name, he may give it to you. These things I command you, that ye love one another. In November of 2022, Sanford Barron and John Gray presented a service they called Heavenly Podcast. During this service, the way we work in our workaday worlds, meeting people of all types and of all consciousnesses, present huge opportunities for us to be radiant. And for us radiate into our worlds. How we work as spiritually conscious individuals in our unconscious worlds. We all have long-ranging circumstances in which we work together with others, individuals, family, business, civic, and normal day-to-day interactions with neighbors, vendors, friends. I have a strong connection in the healthcare community. For years, I served them in a capacity of providing them with equipment and that they use to help people. And now as my body ages, they've come together to help me stay healthy. All these different people, all these different goals, all important to the restoration of heaven on earth. During this service, Sanford posed a question and offered an invitation. His question was, what happens when spiritually conscious people find themselves together in smallish groupings, in pods of collaboration? His plan was to break out into small groupings of 4 or 5 people. And he invited the group to join him in that and to experience about 12 minutes of setting up these pods of collaboration together. These were randomly selected small breakout groups. Then those groupings put their plans together for the next meeting. And the pod experience was underway. Now, I missed that service. As a matter of fact, my daughter and I were at Bend, and it was our plan to leave early in the morning and drive over the pass and listen to the service together in the car. She has a lovely, strong feeling for the Grays, John and Pam. She remembers clearly 40 years ago where we lived with them at Glen Ivy. And then several times when we would go to Southern California around New Year's, we would meet with a group of friends, and John and Pam were always there. So we headed out across the pass. The weather was clear at that time, but a storm was on its way. It was November in Central Oregon. We got to the foothills of the pass, and the snow started lightly. And as we moved up and gained some altitude, it snowed more. And as we came around a corner, we saw a huge line of cars, complete dead stop. The sheriff told us that there'd been an accident up there and that we probably would be an hour in this line. And there was no cell service. We couldn't sit back and enjoy the service together. But we enjoyed each other. And very slowly, we worked our way over the summit, but missed the service. When we got to a place where we had cell service, I got a phone call from an old friend who was quite excited about Sanford's proposition, his invitation. He talked to me about the service time and was excited that he had introduced me to his pod and they'd invited me to join. So I thought I'd missed out, but I was part of the experiment too. They said, get ready, we're going to meet next week via Zoom and get to know one another. Our early experience together as a grouping were really joyous ones. We had no agenda. There was no agenda. We considered events in our world. We shared services that were our favorites, swapped them actually. And we came to know each other. And it didn't take long for us to discover that we were randomly selected by Zoom, but that this wasn't a random selection of people. The feeling of longtime friends grew amongst us. And we became aware that the conversations we were having were windows into our worlds. And there were opportunities for radiant expression into our worlds. And as we did that as a group, our worlds changed and we changed. We met as angels and we were working together in ways that we didn't fully understand, but we rejoiced in them. Conversations ranged from light to very intense and very personal. It was a different kind of radiant gathering for us. This is a radiant gathering. Tone of Life is a radiant gathering. IAAP is a radiant gathering, but they're large and they're formal. Pod 8 was a radiant gathering that was small and flexible. And we could experiment with different things and consider different things together and grow in our closeness and our understanding of one another and experience the growing friendship that we were having together. At a Korean service the other day, Eugen Pak mentioned something about people who had a timelessness in their work together and their experience together. This is what we're all about. In Pod 8, we really felt as though we were and recognized that we were eternal companions. We saw that grouping as an opportunity to share in our love for God and reflect that love for God into our worlds and to one another. We were about 3 to 4 months into our weekly gatherings when we learned that Chris Jorgensen was planning to have a attunement refresher course. And when we discussed it in Pod, we discovered that this was a longing that we'd all had to do more with this. So we all joined together and enrolled in Chris's course. This was a really powerful experience for us. We had varied levels of experience with attunement, but we all had that longing to know more and learn more together. We worked with standard attunement technique, long distance attunement technique. Most of us didn't have partners to work with, so self-attunement. And it was a healing experience for us and for our worlds. During our time together, we had some unique experiences with healing together. In our grouping, in just the small time that we had been meeting, we had a couple of us had cataract surgery, but there were 2 pretty monumental events, both of them life-threatening, both of them requiring emergent care, hospitalization, and long-term rehab. The experiences we had as a group and generating substance around this and reaching out and holding our friends, our companions, while they were experiencing this was outstanding. It was beautiful. It was a wonderful exercise in our friendship together. We work collectively in this with more experienced attunement practitioners, but we were right there. We had Ohana too. Ohana is Pod 8 is an experience that is changing for us. It's adjusting, and it's exciting. We feel for each other a reciprocal offering of radiant friendship. And we know that in experiencing that together, we honor the Master's command that we love one another. And we discover that as we love one another, that most of all, we love God. And in our friendship, one with another, we do that in the light of our friendship with Him. I'd like to read something now from Yolanda's service in 1953. It's called Communion of Friendship. In our most recent periods of meditation, we have recognized certain of the basic factors concerning friendship, something of what friendship signifies, something of the opportunity we have that we may be friends to God, even as God is a friend to us. Once the qualities of friendship, the capacities of friendship begin to develop in the individual, the relationship so established between God and us makes possible the divinely ordained position for which man was first created. God created man in the image and likeness, the same design, the same principles, the same laws, the same capacities and qualities as are found in God Himself. To that end, to the end that man might be the means by which God could reveal Himself in action on earth in relationship to the rest of creation. Man was supposed to be the connecting link between creator and creation. Man violated the basic principles of friendship. He lost the position of being a friend to God and became the missing link, allowing the appearance of separation between heaven and earth. In that divine position as the connecting link between creator and creation, man was, before the violation of friendship, a friend to God. God has never ceased being man's friend, and with patience and love and infinite care, He has sought through the generations since that day to reestablish a pattern on earth by which man might receive the friendship of God and become a friend to God. In the pattern of true friendship, there is always, without any exception, to whatever degree it may be experienced between human beings on earth, a particular quality of communion. Those who move toward the state of true friendship which has been, in fact, a very rare occurrence, begin to experience a state of communion, of vibrational companionship, which might at times use words for the interchange of ideas, but was not limited to words. For in friendship, there is understanding, and there is a communion of spirit, which is unknown to those who have never touched the true spirit of friendship. A quality of comprehension of the interplay of the vibratory field of the one who is counted friend. And this quality of communion is one of the crowning marks of friendship. Once we begin to see that the true state of friendship is the true state of heaven on earth, the idea of the kingdom of heaven being at hand does not seem so vague, so uncertain. Once we begin to glimpse the reality of what friendship means, or what it means to be a friend to God, there is a new vision of heavenly things made manifest, where we have noted that friends make no demands upon one another. Would it not exert a profound influence on heaven if heaven were no longer shut up and denied the opportunity of manifestation on earth? Would it not exert a profound influence on heaven if we prove to be the friends of God and let heaven, the atmosphere of friendship? What is heaven? Heaven is the atmosphere of true friendship. If we let heaven appear on earth, that way is easy. It is the only easy life available to man on earth. All else is hard. In our small group experience, we've explored this and we've rejoiced in it, in our friendship, our new friendship and our old friendships, and mostly in our friendship and our opportunity to be friends with God. Suzanne, my friend, to you.
Well, my friend, you're a hard act to follow. Pod 8 has given the members of it one of the unique experiences of friendship. Friendship with God, friendship with each other, and recognition of what Eugen called angelic companions. One of those experiences of very obviously standing at the center between our friendship with God and our companionship with men. Because that is what our radiant gatherings are all about. That is what our radiant friendship is about. As Daniel said, we have lots of radiant gatherings. Most of them are bigger, like this one. Some of them are smaller, like Pod 8. Some of them may be one-on-one. Some of them may be invisible, like the long-distance attunement group, which meets at a regular time every day, but meets from wherever its members are and never see one another, even on the screen in our little squares. Roger de Winton said this about radiant gatherings in 1992. People are longing for more meaning and effectiveness. Radiant gatherings fit naturally into this as a fresh mechanism for our spiritual work together. And a few weeks ago, Pamela noted that radiant gatherings are spiritual communion. Martin talked about this also many times. He called it configurations of angels. He said there are some very specific needs in spiritual expression which can be handled by various groups of people. There properly are many groups of people to handle specific areas of spiritual expression to achieve specific things in the heaven. It requires a very specific configuration of angels for the creative process to work. There are associations emerging, associations between angels. There are configurations of angels for specific creative purposes. We do not gather by chance, but because there's an understanding of purpose. We find ourselves associated with others in relationship to the fulfillment of this purpose. Pod 8 was like a gathering of old friends. It has been joyous. It has been light and fun and very deep and very intense. But we came together not by accident, but by design. And working in the creative process of that particular design has not just been a personal joy, it's had an impact in our world, an influence in our world. And that is true of this gathering in this hour. And it is magnified. It is much more than the sum of its parts. It is radiant friendship, radiating, letting love radiate into the world that each of us touch, and that is many, many worlds. Covers the planet, covers our precious earth home. It enters the hearts of all who have that longing for more meaning and more effectiveness, for true purpose. It's based on our friendship with our King. And it is no longer amazing to me, but it is still thrilling to me that you are my friends. Because you love our King. And I love our King. And we are friends. And in the friendship with our King and the companionship with our fellows, living in attunement at the crossover point, we truly are the salvation of the world. Daniel, back to you.
Thank you, Suzanne. So I've enjoyed sharing with you. Suzanne has enjoyed sharing with you. And we enjoy together our shared responsibility. To allow the manifestation of God on earth, of heaven on earth, to once again be through humankind. I'd like to open our consideration so that we can hear some of your thoughts and share some of your thoughts. So to that end, over to you all.
I'd like to receive that invitation, Daniel. I love sharing in your cadence of ease, of the nature of friendship that comes from ease, you and Suzanne and what you've shared. It's almost like we had to back up to actually let go of what we think, but just to be together. You opened a door for all of us in that respect. And the words that come to mind that I've written down is where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I am in the midst of them. We're in the midst of the Lord's influence and feeling the intensity of that. I know you were feeling intensity preparing for service, but the intensity we're sharing now is communing all of us together, and to acknowledge that and to open up to the ease of that, to the cadence of that, and to the radiation of that. So thank you both.
I also feel the action that you both took, Daniel and Suzanne, a warm, inviting invitation to us to explore the meaningfulness and effectiveness of friendships together in whatever configurations are needed for specific purposes. And you certainly did give plenty of evidence of how that has emerged in this pod 8. I want to particularly, in giving space for others, just amplify one thing that I'm so grateful for, and that is the way that you enfolded those on Maui and the example that you gave of what really is needed from us as angels. It isn't just aloof. We do feel it. Many times I dreamt and felt what it must be like to have nothing left of your home and whole town and so forth. We feel it, and yet, as you demonstrated, we look for what's rising up in it and how we can amplify that, because that is, there's going to be a lot more of that on the planet. So thank you so much for what you have brought today. Powerful invitation.
Thank you, Marcia. Another scripture comes to mind. It goes something like, "And as you do this to one of the least of mine brethren, you do it unto me." This really erases all judgment of all things from all time. You don't have to love me, I love you. That is a very large statement that we can all give. And in this matter of love, another word for oneness, love can be interpreted as many things, but oneness needs no interpretation, because oneness is that space, that God space above and that which includes everything that includes us. as we are friends together. I am so grateful for all the mentioning of all the different, very specific emissary groups that are coming, have come together. They're not coming together, they have come together. We are here. We know that space of oneness is the only place we can be one. Human opinion, desire, judgment, that will never be oneness. And there is no need for it, because we are in fact already one in the space of God's world. I am so thankful to both of you today. Speaking and being oneness. Thank you.
Daniel, Suzanne, this has just been wonderful. Thank you so much. The requirement of willingness was coming to mind and heart as you were speaking. The willingness to allow these heaven-spun configurations to come together at my hand, to be willing to, as Laura just said, let personal preferences and what I thought I knew take a back seat to heaven's will. And in so doing, the fabric of heaven is woven in the unique way that we each are put here to allow it to be woven, as we allow our organic or heaven-spun pods to emerge in manifest form in our lives because we're willing. And it seems that as we do that, there's a parabola phenomenon, an antenna phenomenon that occurs where that unique pod, that unique configuration can hear what heaven designed it to hear, so that the word may be spoken uniquely through that unique configuration. This is wonderful territory, and this is very exciting. I feel you've opened something for us that we'll utilize a great deal in all of our groupings that were mentioned and the ones that are yet to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Robert. I really loved the expression and relationship of Pod 8 as it was described. One thing I noticed that in both Suzanne and Daniel, speaking of Pod 8, they used the past tense. And I just wanted to assure and confirm that Pod 8 still exists. As far as I know, it has a continuum, unless something's happened I don't yet know about. And it has a strong fortitude and bond that has a sense of growing. Something's growing and something to be done in whatever that will be. And yeah, it's not over yet, folks. There's something in this, there's a birthing of something in this, which is probably a hologram for other things elsewhere. Thank you.
Thanks to all that have spoken. I love this. We redefine friendship. What an amazing thing, because this word, or what it has carried for so long in human experience, I think has obviously at times been a blessing, but maybe at other times not so much so. And people have had great disappointment and great sort of pain and suffering through maybe the loss of something that they thought was real. In this redefinition, I just feel such a profound sense of what it really truly means to dialogue. There's been a lot of concepts around that, I think, but I love it simply the thing of no expectation, no imposition, no rigid agenda. Just this sense of openness to the adventure of life. And when that happens, wow, it's hard to describe sometimes, I find, but in the pod experience my wife and I are having with our pod mates as well, is just a tremendous ongoing thing and something I would never want to miss. So thanks, everybody. Great to be here.
My life goes on in endless song, above earth lamentation. I hear the real, though far off hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear its music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing?
Jerry, that was so beautiful. It was ringing in my heart. Such a beautiful tone sounded through your voice. The poem that you read was part of Bill and my wedding ceremony. It was, I suppose you could say in a way, it was part of our vows. And we were blessed to have Donna Bayan write music for those verses, specifically for our wedding ceremony. And that's what we did, like you did, Daniel and Suzanne. We spoke, Bill and I spoke to each other, singing the different verses. And I feel like when I look back now, that was 42 years ago. And what a beautiful acknowledgement, which I feel has provided a foundation for our purpose for being here on earth. To never forget that, as you emphasized, Laura, is like, I love you. I'm not demanding that I be loved back. Because that is who I am. And it's when we awaken to that, it's the most natural expression on earth. And we couldn't do anything else. So again, thank you for this most uplifting time to be together with everybody here.
And here I thought it was all over at my age. Here I find there's always new beginnings. Thank you, Linda. I don't know if you remember, but I was one of the young people who sang that for you and Bill at your wedding. I never forgot it. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody. But this is this is very interesting because it's really a pivotal moment for me. I'm not well, and I need to look at things differently than I've been looking at them. So thank you all for that.
My heart is full with aloha, love for our ohana. We look around and our ohana is so beautiful. And there's so much going on in everyone's worlds that we're here to encompass, to surround with love, upliftment. Thank you for those words, June. We're with you. When I married my husband, it was on the island of Kauai. I danced the hula down the aisle to a Hawaiian gentleman who played the nose flute. Our entire service was in Hawaiian, complete with all the leis and the flowers and the plumeria scent. And it's an interesting thing as we've been encompassing the Hawaiian Islands, Maui and the Big Island, the Kohala Coast, where we'd spent much time. We've lived there for 10 years. And very interesting, something to share with you, that on Tuesday, the voyaging canoe, Hawaiian canoe of Hokulea is coming into our harbor. Hokulea means star of gladness and happiness and joy. The star of joy is coming into our harbor, and our local indigenous tribes are coming to greet the canoe and their canoes. And we've been invited, those who have boats, to go and meet them in the water. And so on Tuesday afternoon, my husband and I will be taking our boat out to meet the Hokulea, and our boat that we have named Kai, which means Hawaiian, or in Hawaiian means the ocean, the sea. So how interesting that all these things intertwine into our ohana, to be encompassed, to be embraced with no expectation, just sheer love. And so I too voice my deepest appreciation for your lovely focus, your beautiful spirits. I've always felt a part of Pod 8, even though I'm not in Pod 8, but because I love everyone in Pod 8, I felt like I'm part of Pod 8. And isn't that true for everything going on in our lives, that we are part of what's going on? I look around this screen and I feel I'm part of each of your lives, and vice versa. And that is the true spirit of ohana, and giving gladness and rejoicing in the Lord and our love for the Lord. Thank you.
Suzanne and Daniel. Having opportunity to engage with you both a little bit over recent weeks, I've experienced the largeness of your love. Every time we emailed or had a chance to speak by Zoom, the greatness of your love washed over me. In a way, it was quite surprising to be so immediately bathed in the current of love flowing from you, and to let go and allow that to completely flood me and change me. This occurred again today, a great outpouring of easy and natural love and friendship, where you poured it forth upon all of us, through us, and upon and through a large portion of humanity. I so deeply appreciated your emphasis on the need for the emergence of a significant number of different configurations of angels drawn together by spirit in order to allow specific ranges of creative accomplishment. Perhaps a few years ago, there was a little confusion around these things as there began to be this diversification. I thought we were supposed to be coming together as one stream. Now we have many. How can this actually all work out into oneness? And yet we see how natural it is that there would be way more than we even know now. Configurations of angels gather in order to allow the specific angels involved to play their part that is natural to them in the recreative process that's going on Earth. Obviously, we can't all participate in those, each one individually. But we can, with regard to whatever we are aware of, enfold it in that flowing river of love that you have focused this morning, and play our parts diligently in whatever arrangement we're drawn to be in for the moment. Somehow I find myself thinking this morning of Sunrise Ranch. And both of you, I believe, are these various ones mentioned EDL, and the term EDL doesn't come up in our conversations very much anymore. But I'm glad you did use the term, because it's a holy name, a sacred name. And there are also things emerging through various ones who live at Sunrise that are of significance, just like Pod 8 is significant. And this gathering that we have here is significant. So there's something rising up through the earth, through us, and watering the heavens and allowing what's natural in these different arrangements to come together and be held in our love and our understanding of the truth of what's taking place. So because of the magnification of the current of love that has been present in our experience today, I feel that my heart and my mind, my body, my facilities have been greatly changed, as love will do when one lets go to it. And yours is very clear and strong, Suzanne and Daniel. How wonderful to have this hour and 20 minutes this morning with you. And I know there will be much more that we'll share together, specifically with you in various ways in days to come. Thanks so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
It's wonderful to see the Lord express himself. Tony, your book is right next to Chris's attunement epistles. Makes me want to sing. Pod 8 is alive and well. Suzanne and I talked a little bit, and I hope I'm not violating our conversation. We didn't like to talk about future events very much because we just didn't. But I think I'll tell you all something that has begun to come to point and is coming to point in a more direct way. A few of us in Pod 8 have known each other for ever, 40, 50 years, worked together, pre and post consciousness, and during that interesting time in between. And we thought it would be a wonderful thing if we could all meet and do what we've been doing with communion in actual face-to-face situations. Later on this year, Pod 8 is going to assemble. And we'll surprise you with the details later on if you're interested. Suzanne, maybe you should be the one to do that. But we're excited about it. It's quite a gathering. You know. Friendship is really man's responsibility to God. And it's a remembrance of God's never-ending love for man. By practicing our friendships amongst ourselves, we strengthen our friendship muscles. But we also honor the Master's command to love one another. It's a practical and radiant manner to rejoice in the Lord's love for us and to accept his never-ending gift of friendship. Thank you all, and I'll turn it over to Suzanne.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you all. Thank you each. There have been some wonderful surprises this morning. Linda, you were maybe the biggest. What a wonderful thing. Christina, yours was pretty surprising too. And if ever the words, "I will be with you in spirit on Tuesday," have been said, they have never been more deeply felt. That will be a wonderful time. I will be thinking of it. Time is elastic. Sometimes a minute seems like an hour. Sometimes an hour seems like an instant. And sometimes 40 or 50 years disappears in a flash. And here we are together in the present moment. To close out our remarkable hour together, I'd like to read you the words of a song that was written again some years ago. Again, by an old friend of many of us, a woman named Carolyn Rhodes, who I've always thought was brilliant. We have come to offer thy blessing, thy holy dwelling place on earth. Honor and glory we bring to the nations. Thy spirit surely now has its birth. We have come to bring thy dominion, the healing word, an open door. We share again our holy communion. We morning stars together sing forevermore. Robert, I think you have a piece of music for us. Blessings, everyone.
Thank you.
Unless Steve has an announcement to share.
I think we've said it all here. The next service is September 17th, and it's wonderful to share with you all. Robert?
Thank you,